August 11th and 12th, 2017, Charlottesville, Virginia. A historic moment for the United States of America as the Unite the Right rally takes place in protest of the removal of a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The Unite the Right rally, also known as the Charlottesville rallies, was the congregation of multiple white supremacy groups such as the KKK, neo-Nazis, neo-fascists, and many other groups to unify the American white nationalist movement. However, this movement did not go unmatched, as counter-protests took place during the same time, ultimately resulting in violence. At this point, the city was placed under a state of emergency since the officers determined they could no longer safeguard the public. This clash between rallies resulted in more than 30 injuries and increased the tensions between the two sides. With tensions at an all-time high, a self-identified white supremacist, James Fields, rammed his car into a crowd of counter-protesters that not only injured an additional 19 people, but took the life of 32-year-old Heather Heyer. The result of this rally was entirely preventable, and were caused by the failures to take appropriate action by the government of the United States and their inability to de-escalate racial tension within the country itself. The first leader we can look at is the government's response during the rally through their police force. The problem in leadership starts at the very top, with their chief, Al Thomas. With his title granting him legitimate power, Thomas used coercive power to threaten officers to obey his direct orders of not being involved in anything instead of following the police ideology. Officers also didn't seek any input from any other law enforcement personnel. They weren't provided adequate training, refused offers of mutual aid assistance, and implemented a flawed operational plan. Had Thomas been an ethical leader, the situation could have been entirely different. By creating a principle-based environment, not only would it have been able to protect subordinates against the risk of retaliation, the Unite the Right rally could have been a peaceful protest. During the aftermath of the rally, the second leader came from the tragedy of a life lost, Susan Bro, the mother of Heather Heyer. Not only did she stand up for what her daughter believed in, she was an integral member in Heather's memorial. Bro took initiative and encouraged others to focus on what Heather died for, and that we really need to not have hate in our world, but the only way we're going to do that is if we fix the problem. This outcry for change from Bo was unlike her and a result of her public self becoming her private self. As her beliefs changed through her learning more about social justice and her interactions with activists, Bro stood out and took a leadership role by using this crisis to not be forgotten, but be a catalyst for positive change. Now, after such a tragic incident, we can only expect support from the supposed leader of the free world, right?
Wrong.
With the streets of Charlottesville colored in the waves of blood of those who stood up against a rage of extremist terror, and thousands were terrified by the radical surge of white supremacist ideologies, the United States needed strong words of reassurance. As the President of the United States stood up and spoke to a nation in need of resilience, healing, and support, they stood in disarray to hear a statement that was not only ineffective, but ambiguous. We condemn, in the strongest possible terms, this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides. When strong words like bigotry and hatred echoed across the walls of the nation, for the moment every individual expected strong resistance to the extreme alt-right views from the president, but the echoes faded when the president used the ambiguous words of many sides. These words not only portrayed their leader as weak, but showcased that he was unwilling to take a side. Trump's stance further proved the widespread notion that he's a supporter of racist beliefs and extremist right-wing ideas. In his attempts to rectify his mistake, Trump continuously proved how ineffective he is as a man of power and how the nation requires a more effective leader to show them a path of justice and equality. Here's what we're asking from you. As students, we all have the potential to be the future leaders of tomorrow in many ways. Some will be leaders of our communities, of law enforcement, or even politically. The events in Charlottesville show that in the pursuit of equality, fairness, and justice for all, the need for effective leaders is crucial. While the events have been occurring more often in the United States than Canada, the philosophies of great leaders like Martin Luther King guide us, saying that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It is our duty as future leaders to take responsibility for justice and do what we can do to create change within our communities, even as students and members of society. If not as leaders, we must hold our leaders accountable. They are our voice, our representation, and the creators of the world that we will live in. We can create change in our world by going on sites such as the Center for Social Justice, showcasing our support by showing up to rallies, and by taking an active role in social media. By taking even the slightest time in our day to do research into the values we actually believe in, we can all create positive change in our world. Thank you for listening.